Beneath the rotting rides lies a secret, and it's begging to be heard. Long before swings and cotton candy, this land was sacred to the Shawnee tribe. But in 1783, settler Mitchell Clay's children were murdered here, sparking a cycle of violence that never ended. In 1926, Conley Snidow built a paradise over a graveyard. His Ferris wheel and dance hall hid a dark truth. The park sat atop mass graves of Shawnee children. In the 1950s, a girl in a pink dress was crushed by a truck mid-swing. Today, her ghost still plays here, and her ribbon moves with no wind. George Wythe drowned in 1961, his arm trapped in a drain. Now, his pinwheel spins alone and visitors hear splashes from an empty pool. When new owners tried to rebuild, they unearthed 13 skeletons. Archaeologists confirmed this was a 2,000-year-old burial ground, and the park's curse was real. This path leads to the claychildren's graves. Visitors report choking sensations and shadows that follow. When portals to hell investigated, a balloon exploded midair and a 7-foot Native American spirit emerged from the lake. Every October, the park becomes a nightmare. Haunted trails, ghost stories, and real spirits joining the fun. But what do you see? A decaying amusement park. What do you feel? The stench of death. What do you hear? Children laughing, screaming, drowning, pleading for mercy. Welcome to my channel, and this is Lake Shawnee. For thousands of years, the Shawnee people have thrived in Ohio, growing corn and tobacco near the fertile lands around present-day Portsmouth. It was home until one day when settlers arrived and stole their homes. Many were forced to relocate west, but not before an event that would haunt this place forever. On August 18, 1783, Mitchell Clay sent his 4 children to pick berries at the bend of Gallo Creek. But when they didn't return, he went looking. To his horror, he found them impaled on trees. Settlers blamed the Shawnee, so warriors returned to avenge the children, killing even more settlers. It was the beginning of a violent cycle that continued for decades. By the late 1800s, the area was known as the Devil's Tramping Ground. Locals believed evil spirits lurked in these woods, watching from the shadows. Most stayed away until 1926 when Conley and Elsie Snidow purchased the land, ignoring rumors of a curse. They opened Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. There were roller coasters, a Ferris wheel, a carousel, and a dance hall where guests could waltz under the stars. People came from miles round to enjoy the magic, including Elsie's brother, Thomas. But he knew the truth. The entire park rested on a Native American burial ground. Conley had dismissed the warnings, saying there were no bones under the boardwalk. But when the carousel's music stuttered, Thomas saw something horrible. A skeleton tumbled from beneath the platform. Soon after, a bulldozer uncovered dozens more. Some were piled inside the log flume. Others lay beneath the foundations of the bathhouse and dance floor. Thomas tried to convince his sister to close the park, but she wouldn't listen. She let a local witch doctor bless the grounds instead. Business boomed that summer. But behind the laughter and screams, something sinister stood. On July 1928, 9-year-old Helen Viola rode the carousel's horse. Suddenly, its chipped wooden mask loomed close, its eyes boring into hers. Then a hoarse whinny echoed across the park. Helen screamed. Its toothy grin seemed to mock her fear. As the ride spun, she watched in disbelief as the mask loomed closer and closer until suddenly it lunged forward, knocking Helen from her seat and onto the concrete below. Her head cracked open on a rock and she died instantly. Her grieving parents sued the park, but Conley fought back, blaming Helen's father for being a reckless pap who took his eyes off his child. Grief-stricken and penniless, her mother watched from afar as they buried their only child under a headstone that read, "Hell, our angel in heaven." Conley refused to make changes, and soon another tragedy struck. Robert Churchwell was driving his truck between the roller coaster and the log flume when suddenly a woman darted from the trees, right into his path. He slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Robert had mowed her down, leaving the driver hysterical and the victim crushed beneath the wheels. Witnesses said the girl wore a pink dress and danced as the engine roared above her. After the accident, Robert couldn't sleep. Every night, he dreamt of a pink dress swirling in the headlights, then vanishing into the darkness. Other drivers began to share his nightmares. Each claimed to have seen the same thing, a ghostly girl dancing on the road. The park fell into disrepair. By the 1950s, the once thriving business was boarded up and abandoned. But locals kept returning, drawn to the dilapidated rides and crumbling dance hall. For a time, Lake Shawnee remained silent. That is until the Snoddos sold the land to the Yorkie family in 1960. With new ownership, the park was cleaned up and ready for a new season. The Ferris wheel turned lazily in the breeze, the carousel whirred to life, and roller coasters groaned overhead. One hot afternoon, 14-year-old George Wythe took a dip in the park's small pool. But when his mother noticed he hadn't resurfaced in a while, she raced to his side and dove straight into the murky water. She felt for him frantically, but he was nowhere to be found. His bathing suit floated on the surface, but George was gone. She surfaced gasping, waving for help. But when other swimmers looked into the water, they saw only vacant stares. George had vanished without a trace. His body was never recovered, but his spirit lingered. Visitors reported hearing splashes and seeing the phantom form of a young boy swimming laps in the shallow end. In 1961, the pool drained for the winter, and George's ghost was trapped forever. Nearby, 8-year-old Bobby Davis spotted a colorful pinwheel flying across the parking lot. It was tied to a drain where George disappeared. Bobby had heard the story and figured he'd try to retrieve it. But when he leaned too close, a suction force dragged him under the water. Bobby struggled against the current, but it was too strong. He was pulled deeper and deeper into the murky depths. His desperate screams echoed across the park, but nobody came to save him. Eventually, the water temperature equalized with his blood, and Bobby's heart stopped beating. His lifeless body floated to the surface, his mouth frozen in a silent scream. His mother collapsed on the sidewalk, shrieking for her baby. Park employees fished Bobby from the water and laid him on the grass. But the damage was done. The events traumatized the community, leading to the park's closure in 1964. Yet something remained, an evil presence that grew stronger every year. Families explored the overgrown pathways, marveling at how nature reclaimed the rides. But they never stayed long. By the 1980s, Lake Shawnee was a wasteland filled with trash and weeds. Then in 1989, new owners purchased the land. They planned to restore the park to its former glory, reopening it to the public. But first, they needed to excavate the burial ground. Archaeologist David Starbuck led the dig, uncovering artifacts like animal bones, arrowheads, and ceramic dishes. He found 13 skeletons, 2, most disturbingly, a young girl wearing a European-style dress. Whoever she was buried quickly and respectfully. Starbuck guessed she lived here 2,000 years ago, and was likely a victim of the battle between settlers and the Shawnee. As he handed each bone to the grave diggers, one of them joked, "Here's a souvenir for you." Moments later, his shovel hit something hard. It was a human jawbone. Starbuck realized the man had disturbed a burial, so he hurried over and stopped the dig. He knew he'd stumbled upon something incredible. There were hundreds of bodies here, proving the Native Americans didn't just live near Lake Shawnee. They were buried here, too. The site became known as America's Valley of the Shadow, drawing curious tourists from across the country. But to this day, no one knows the full extent of the bloodshed. One myth claims the Shawnee practiced human sacrifice here. Another says it was a battle between the Shawnee and the Iroquois. But one story stands out. During the fight, a woman fled into the woods, dropping her baby in the process. No one knows if she returned for him or if he survived. Maybe he did. Maybe that's why the ghosts keep coming back. Now called the Old Haunted Grounds, the park was finally restored. Rides creaked back to life, lights twinkled in the trees and music echoed across the water. But it was tainted by tragedy. On October 1994, two friends visited the park. Jessica Malone loved the haunting atmosphere, but she felt uneasy about exploring the caves near the old stage. Her friend convinced her to go anyway, promising to protect her. But when they turned round, they found themselves lost in a dark labyrinth. Panicked, they wandered through pitch-black tunnels lit only by their flashlights. Suddenly, they heard footsteps behind them. Jessica froze. She felt something brush past her leg, but there was nothing there. They turned round again, only to find their way blocked by solid rock. Trapped, Jessica felt something wrap round her neck. She clawed at it, desperate to break free. Her friend slapped her on the back, startling her. Then he vanished. She searched frantically, but he was nowhere to be found. Eventually, Jessica crawled out of the cave. She never saw her friend again, but sometimes she hears his echo in the wind. That's when the legend of Lake Shawnee truly began. From that day on, visitors reported witnessing all sorts of paranormal activity, including ghost children, spectral trains, and ghastly apparitions. Others claim the ghosts are protective and will warn you if you enter their space. If you can't see them, maybe they can sense you. Every October, the park transforms into a haunted carnival. Riders don masks, ghouls prowl the pathways, and every corner hides a new fright. People come from all over to attend the annual Haunted Hills event, but some stay longer than others. Those who dare camp overnight tell tales of terror. Screams pierce the darkness. Whispers carry on the breeze, and disembodied footsteps follow them round. Many don't make it past midnight. One camper swore a ghost pushed him out of the ticket booth, even though it had no doors. They say the best way to survive Lake Shawnee is to leave an offering, speak softly, and move slowly. That's because here the dead aren't monsters. They're children forever playing in their cursed playground. Some rides never stop. Thanks for watching. Do you believe Lake Shawnee is haunted? Let me know your thoughts below. And make sure to subscribe and come back for more. Until then, remember, some nightmares never end.